Okay, so today I'm going to share a little bit about my story, a little bit more about all of that. So let's dive into it. Um, Stories are something that each of us have, and a lot of the things that we've been through are what shape us. And I see the things that each person goes through as something that God has entrusted to each of us to give us character, to give us relatability, to give us experience. And I realize that the things, whether good or bad or hard or easy, God allows us to go through certain things to ultimately glorify Him. But they are, I see them as things that He entrusts us as a gift. Clean this off. There we go. So, a little bit about me is I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and I grew up with all brothers. And I think this shaped a lot of who I am and who I've become just by growing up, being more competitive, and I'm really thankful for it. So I played sports growing up. I played lacrosse and field hockey and loved these sports. And I say this from a humble place, but I did pretty well with them. And I really enjoyed the sports that I was involved in. And God's given me a pretty athletic body. And because I was inclined more towards doing well with sports, I think it was something I really found my identity in. And through middle school and the beginning of high school, my spine started to do things it wasn't supposed to. And this brought a lot of difficulties along with it because I wasn't able to perform as well with my sports, and I was developing a pretty severe case of scoliosis. I was supposed to wear a back brace, but literally didn't wear that thing. So uncomfortable. And by freshman year, I ended up needing to get scoliosis surgery, which the Lord really used it because ultimately it was something where I got to my lowest point, and that's where I met Christ at. And I wouldn't go back and change anything, even though it was really difficult and really tricky. I wouldn't change a thing. And so had my spinal fusion, and leading up to that point, it was really difficult because I couldn't play sports the way that I'd hoped to. And yeah, I never really thought that I would be able to be athletic again. And it was cool because I actually got to play field hockey for the rest of my high school season, for the last 2 years of high school after that. And I got to play lacrosse again too. And so this was really cool how I was able to continue to play those things. But honestly, I didn't really expect that I'd be athletic from there on out. Didn't know what my capabilities would be. So this is when I got into running. I was like, okay, I'll just run. And a lot of the things that came along with that was when my body started to change, as you start to age and become an adult, your body changes. And the little Jillian that I was growing up, the scale never went above like 110 pounds. And so I got to the point where I was gaining weight, and it was really uncomfortable because that just was so foreign to me. And so my first reaction was, okay, I'm gonna run, and I need to burn calories if I eat anything. And then this turned into me not eating much, and it became a pretty unhealthy cycle. And also I had some other health things going on, so I was doing all these like weird diets and elimination things, and I definitely felt good in the sense of being really what culture tells you to look like. But I knew it wasn't going to be long-term and sustainable. So this is when I decided to dig. This is when I decided to do my own research and figure things out myself. Because a lot of doctors that I was going to, they weren't able to figure out the problems that I was having. Or they would give me almost like a topical solution to something that I knew was a lot deeper. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, something needs to change, and I need to figure out how I can live from here on out in a place of freedom, not in a place of tracking all my food, being afraid to eat, and almost, living in fear. So I finally got to the place where I found some people who were talking about the metabolism and just how your body is meant to, it's meant to not be constricted and defined by um, all these things that I feel like society will put upon us. And I really just started to see things through a very holistic lens, in the sense of, okay, how did God design this function and how is it supposed to work? An example being, God gave us a body with all of the different organs in it, and they have specific functions and roles, and we're meant to eat food. We are meant to eat food. And I knew that I was living in a place where I was not eating very much and eating very often. I would have like a salad and like one meal a day and then be fine with that. And it got to the point where I was like, something is not right. And so, anyway, I finally got to the place where I was like, all right, I'm going to start eating. I'm going to eat in a way that is biologically normal. Thinking about what our ancestors used to eat back in like 100 years ago. Just a lot more of like meat and good quality dairy and things that aren't as processed, and a lot more of things that have more parts of the animal in it. Like gelatinous things or things with collagen or organ meats. Of course, I don't really like to eat beef liver or other organs, but I'll take them in pills. Works. But I feel like our society is so detached and so removed from a lot of the things that seemed just normal and not necessary. And I think that a lot of the problems our society is dealing with is because we've gotten away from a lot of the normal things that God designed. Which I'll probably talk more about a lot of these things later, but it's something that's really helped my perspective, because when I started eating, I started to see a lot of things normalize in my body. And of course it was uncomfortable because I did start to gain more weight than I was ever used to. The scale went way above 110, and it was uncomfortable at first, but I reminded myself this is what is important for me in my future. And I'm not meant to be the skinniest little version of myself, especially as I age. And I'm so thankful that the Lord helped me to heal in this area of my life. Of course, it's continually like a healing process, but I've been able to see it in my own life, how now I can eat, can live my day to day not in a stressed state of feeling like if I eat a meal, I need to go and burn it off by running later in the day. And I think a lot of my actions used to stem out of beliefs that I had. Like, I would go run every day. And not that running is inherently bad, but I think it was from a mentality of believing that my body wasn't capable of burning the calories I was putting in it, and I needed to go burn it off by running. And I run occasionally now. I'll do sprints. I really think there's a benefit to that, but I don't really remember the last time I've gone out on a run. I mainly walk and lift, and honestly, I'm so thankful because I've actually seen a lot more progress in the ways that I deep down wanted to, but I didn't know how to. And when I finally gave up the mentalities that I had before, I finally started to actually walk in freedom and walk in a lot more peace and a lot more vitality. And I think it's just something where I'm so thankful, because especially when I got into weightlifting, I didn't expect that I would be able to do that, especially with my back being fused. I didn't think that I would be capable of lifting anything heavy. And I was hearing the benefits of weightlifting, but I was afraid that I was just going to hurt myself or cause problems. But this is something where the Lord's also really taught me how to, in a wise way, push past my limits. And it's been really special to walk in that. And I think it's something where my heart now is at a point where I've realized the passion that I have for these things. And I see the majority of women and how difficult it can be, the battle that goes on in our minds. And I think that my heart has really just been stirred in that way of sharing what I've learned and how I've been able to get to the place where I'm at, because I see the value in it. And I see the girl that I used to be. And looking back, there is just so much that I wish I could tell her and teach her. And I wouldn't have been able to learn those things back then, but I learned them through the things that I went through. And so a lot of what I'm hoping to share is really just to help people realize that God made you a specific way, and he gave you the body that you have. And all of us are different. We're all different, and it's going to look different how we go about things and how each of us look. And one thing that I've realized is, okay, God's given me the body that I have. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable with the fact that I'm more muscular, but instead of trying to shrink myself and live in a different way of trying to be different than what God has made me, I've realized that maybe I need to actually tap into the inclinations that he's given me. I have more of a muscular build, so weightlifting, I'm going to run with it and embrace the fact that God has made me and I'm special in his eyes. And I think that the message that I'm just wanting to share to anyone who stumbles across my content is God made you specifically in the way that he's made you. And he adores you and he loves you. And when you learn to live in a way that is aligned with that, it just brings so much freedom. And society might tell you other things, the world might tell you other things, and the way that people should look, how society has normalized it, doesn't mean that you need to look that specific way. And so, anyway, that's kind of a little bit of my background. I'm hoping to share more on that. I'll expand eventually on it. But I think that this is something where I have a passion because of the things God has allowed me to go through. And my goal is to help people realize that God has intentionally designed you and made you, and he loves you the way that you are. And you can either run from that or you can run with it. And I want to teach people to run with it and see the beauty of who they are. So anyways, love you guys and excited to have you along for more.